So I'll just get that going. Alex, if you could do any more letting in, that would be helpful. So I think it might be useful, just a few more people coming in, but I think it might be useful just to sort of introduce ourselves very briefly, to kind of go around the room. I can recognize all these faces now because I've had a lovely chance to talk to you all, but you probably don't know each other. So just briefly, your name and just a tiny bit about you, which sort of says about why you're interested in the education volunteering team. So you've all met me, Rebecca Swift, so I'm the education officer. And Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, hi everybody. So I provide admin support in the learning engagement team. So I support Rebecca by organising the sessions, and I also put the sessions on Beds for Impact to recruit our volunteers for the sessions. So that's probably how you might correspond with me.
Yeah, so kind of better impact questions and things are good to kind of go to Alex about that. But if we can kind of whiz round the room. So Jennifer.
Hello, I'm Jennifer. I've only just joined the volunteers this time, so it's all very new to me. But I was a teacher, I'm a teacher. I'm missing sort of being in a school environment, and I'm sort of enjoy the outdoors and do a lot of walking and just like being with young people really, and I'm missing them a lot. So I'm hoping this is going to be an outlet where we can help one another.
Brilliant, thanks Jennifer. Bob, you'll just have to unmute first, Bob. The wonders of Zoom. So bottom left corner.
Thanks very much. I'm new as well to this. I haven't done any of it before. I'm interested in seeing how the education side of things does go. I was a school governor at in our last village where we moved 4 years ago. So I'm really interested in seeing all sorts of ways to try and help the national park.
Brilliant, thank you, Bob. Damien?
Hi, good afternoon, Damien. As you can probably see from the uniform, I'm serving in the military at the minute. I'm a very outdoorsy person. I've got no educational background whatsoever at the minute. I just love being outdoors, and I'm basically going to be a spare for anybody that needs me. And it's good to be able to learn myself and be able to pass it on. So I'm looking forward to the challenges that this is going to bring.
Thanks, Damien. Brilliant, thank you. Roger?
Hiya. I've been with the National Parks as a volunteer, getting on, I think, 16th year. Just before that, just about then, I retired from really a working life in landscape and wildlife conservation as a woodlands officer for a local authority. I've been involved in outreach and education with the park for a long time, and I've seen it develop, and I think the sort of future for it is particularly exciting now. There's a lot of changes put through by government and other bodies, and I'd just like to be a part of that really.
Brilliant, thanks Roger. And Roger's going to be leading our Malham Recce Day in a couple of weeks' time. Sue?
Hello, I'm Sue. I'm a retired paediatrician. For the last few years, I've been doing some voluntary education work with the Rivers Trust, talking to children about how rivers work. And since I retired, I've been studying botany. I just really enjoy working with children.
Brilliant, thank you, Sue. And David Davenport?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's David Davenport. My particular interest is allowing people who have not had access to the countryside access, and particularly those with disabilities. I've been volunteering in a small way with the Yorkshire Dales for about 3 or 4 years now, mainly with education and engagement days and residentials. I'm if you can hear noises in the background, I'm at my daughter's house. We had a new addition to the family yesterday, and my dog's in the garden trying to make a nuisance of himself, so I might be interrupted. But we'll see how it goes.
Congratulations, David. Great news. Anne. Just need to unmute. I think if we're not speaking, if you go on mute, but when you are speaking, yeah, obviously unmute. I think that might be work best.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm Anne, and I'm an ex-civil servant, retired. I did sort of geography and biology when I was obviously a young student, so I remain interested in those things. And I think it's really important at this point after COVID, well, I say hopefully, that we get the children out more, and with the sort of climate crisis and everything like that, that we get more outdoor education for them and less bookish stuff.
Brilliant. Thanks, Anne. I think we all would agree with that. Alistair?
Hi all, like Roger, I've been volunteering now for 16 years. In fact, Roger and I are sort of teammates. We've known each other that long. We came into the northern area together. My main focus throughout the whole of that time has been walking, but also including navigation. I teach navigation into the park volunteers when they come in new, or I have done in the past. And I also have read guided walks, navigation and map reading and stuff. My primary interest is, with the greatest respect to others here, is not so much children and education. It's more to do with my knowledge, my experience of being able to lead groups and take hold of what more people in a group and take them around the area and so on and so forth. But I also have an intense interest in geography and geology and the countryside generally. So it's not so much the education side of it, it's more the sort of helping it all work and leading in particular if that comes about. That's my main element.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alistair. Val?
Hi, my name's Val. I've worked with the National Park for the past 3 or 4 years, helping out with young rangers. So doing conservation tasks with kids aged sort of 10 to 18, which has been great fun. Got a background, worked in universities, lecturing. I'm also a qualified mountain leader. So I can, like Alistair, I think previously, can teach navigation. I enjoy taking groups out walking. I also have an interest in geography, and I've done some foraging courses, and just like to again take kids out into the countryside and to you know, teach them all about the countryside and how to respect the landscape and how to respect the countryside as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Val. David Robinson.
Hello everybody, David Robinson. My background is in the hospitality industry before going into further education for 20 years. Basically, dealing with hospitality and leisure. So leisure played a big part in that for me, with groups within the 14 to 19 curriculum. I've been with the National Park, I believe it's 6 years now. So we've had a wide range of work under the Learning and Engagement banner. So consequently, the programs that we're looking at, etc. here, fits in quite nicely with my aspirations.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. Jake?
Yeah, hi everyone, my name's Jake. I'm fairly new to volunteering. I signed up last year, which was then promptly scuppered by COVID rearing its ugly head about a month later, so my opportunities have been fairly limited so far. So I'm really interested in just trying out as many different things as I can on top of the practical tasks that I need to do to go from being a probationary to actually being a fully fledged volunteer. But this is something I'm really interested in. I have 3 children of my own, all of school age, so I know firsthand how difficult it is to get them away from the iPad or the console or whatever. So whatever tips and tricks I can learn from hopefully doing some sessions with other school children, I can maybe sort of bring to bear on them. I work full time and have done some work with schools before, which was really rewarding. Really enjoyed just kind of passing on the knowledge of what I know how to do, which is journalism. But you know, I think the general skill set is the same, isn't it? Sort of just trying to enthuse children about a certain subject, and that's something that I'm looking forward to doing.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jake. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Janet.
Hello, everybody. Like quite a few other people, I had a lifelong career in working with children, and I think it was Jennifer who said how much she misses working with children, and I'm like that. And it just I've been a volunteer for a year or so, but and looking to see what sort of things would be a particular interest, and I thought this would combine my desire to work with children with also my interest in landscape and geology and environment, all those sorts of things. It just seemed an ideal opportunity, so here I am.
Brilliant. Thanks, Janet. Rob?
Hiya, I'm Rob. I'm very, very new to the volunteering. Only started volunteering at the start of the year, actually, so I haven't really done too much, you know, with COVID and everything, but my background was design. I was a corrugated designer, but I recently resigned from that job because it just wasn't fulfilling for me, and I wasn't really getting anything out of it. So here I am. Thought I'd try volunteering. I'm always outdoors. I'm a very keen cyclist, so I ride in the Yorkshire Dales quite a lot. I walk a lot as well. I have my own personal website as well, where I document my walks and my cycling and challenger. And I guess I'm doing this more than anything else so I can learn more about the Yorkshire Dales and everything. I've never really guided anything, guides or worked with children or anything, but I'm always up for the opportunity, and you know, I'm never closing a door, so might as well try something completely new.
Great, welcome, Rob. Bernard?
Hello, I'm Bernard Foster. I've been a Dales volunteer for about 12 years, I think. And during that time, I have done quite a lot of guided walks, and occasionally with school groups, though not very frequently. My background is, well, actually, I used to teach French, so perhaps that's not particularly relevant for what we're doing here, but and I was used to teaching older people in the 18 age group and upwards. I suppose I'm doing this really because, well, like everybody else, I love being in the Yorkshire Dales. Like many other people have mentioned, I've got a particular interest in things geological, and I just enjoy talking to people about it. As my wife would say, I like the sound of my own voice. So.
Brilliant. Thanks, Bernard. And Angie?
Hi, hello everybody. By training, in my first job, I worked for about 10 years as a geography teacher in comprehensive school in South Bradford, and then did other things with the rest of my working life. And I retired in 2008, I think it was, and I've been a Dales volunteer for about 11 or 12 years, something like that. And I've enjoyed helping with things like the guided walks and doing school visits around the Malham area and working with Kat Kilner on some of the projects she's been doing. And so this was an obvious thing to put my name down for. I enjoy experiencing everything the Yorkshire Dales has to offer, and just happy to share that with other people.
Brilliant. Thanks, Angie. Sally?
Hi, yes, I'm Sally, and I have been a volunteer for 13 or 14 years, something like that. It sounds to me as though we're going to be quite an interesting mix of people, and hopefully with complementary skills, because I don't think of myself at all as an expert in geography or geology or anything like that. I don't have that kind of knowledge, and I haven't been a teacher. but I do have quite a bit of experience through my career in public libraries of working with children, particularly kids in inner city Bradford and those from ethnic minority backgrounds. So my interest is, I like to think of myself more as a sort of a people person and a good backup for a walk. If I get paired up with somebody who's got the specialist knowledge, hopefully between us, whoever we are, we might make a good team. And like other people have said, my primary interest, I think, is introducing kids who've never had no idea what the countryside was and never thought of it as being for them. And so I've done a good few Malham landscape trails over the years. I've always been on the education and outreach teams. You know, that gives me great pleasure to see children discovering for the first time that this is a whole new world out there that is open for them and free for them to use. And that's sort of where my commitment lies, really.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sally. Judith?
Hi there. Hi, I'm a retired primary school teacher, so I've got that background, and also a very, very keen walker, always wanting to be outside, enjoying the landscape. And I think my concern is that we've got to make sure this next generation, as we all know, take care of the environment that they live in. So I think it's vitally important that we get that next generation to involve themselves with the outdoors as much as we can. So that's really why I'm here, and I'm a new volunteer. I haven't done this before. Retired 5 years ago. My husband's just recently retired, so we're now up for getting out there and helping.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judith. And is it Graham, iPad 5?
It is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh gosh, I've had terrible trouble between both my systems. I'm sorry. So my name's Graham. I'm new to volunteering with the National Park, although I retired a couple of years ago, and I've got myself involved in a couple of things. So I currently I volunteer with Carnarvon Rivers Trust as a lock keeper at Bingley Five Rise Locks. I help out at my scouts locally, and obviously involves working with children. And I got myself involved with an organisation called the Country Trust last year, or the year before last, which takes underprivileged children out to schools to show them where food comes from. Unfortunately, a lot of that has been curtailed with COVID, and not much activity went on at all last year. So I've got no experience with children at all. I come from a banking background. I've got my own family who are now grown up. My wife also says that I'll talk to anybody about anything. And I love the sound of my own voice. So it's probably quite a good place to start. But like everybody else is saying, you know, I'm absolutely passionate about the outdoors. I live in Bingley, which is, you know, sort of 25 miles from Grassington. But I spend so much time in the Dales. I should move there really. Yesterday I was fishing in the wharf at Appletree Wick. I'm walking the Dales on Friday with friends. So my interest is everything geography, geology, and really environment related, although I've got no specific knowledge apart from what I've learned and picked up myself. My daughter would say that I rammed the outdoors down her when she was growing up, I suppose. But that's where my enthusiasm comes from.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And it's lovely to sort of meet you all like in a group like this. I'm going to share my screen. So what would be useful for you is if everybody mutes, other than me, and I'll talk you through. So can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Technology, when it works, it's all good. So what I thought I would do today is kind of start on the big picture stuff, really. Well, firstly, a few sort of technical things about joining the education team. So the DBS bits and all those sort of questions that people had asked me about. We'll then talk a bit about the national picture, which I know from what you've said, a lot of you already kind of know this, but you know what the government and things are doing and saying around this. What our offer to schools is, the bookings that we've got so far. Whoops, go back. The training opportunities that we're putting on, and then a chance at the end for any questions or discussion and things that you've got. So it's really a bit of an overview to get you up to speed with about, you know, what the education team is all about. So in terms of joining the team, the practicalities. So to actually lead a group, you need an enhanced DBS certificate. So ultimately, I'd like everybody in the team to have an enhanced DBS. But at the moment, I know, you know, some people won't have it. It takes a little while for that to come through. So you can still come out on activities as long as you're not leading a group or on your own with a group of children. If you're with other people, you're fine. But everybody will start to need to go through that enhanced DBS process, which I'll tell you about in a minute. There's also a requirement for the Yorkshire Dales for people to have an outdoor first aid course. But I know some people, we've got qualified doctors and things here as well. So I think if you've got a qualification as a doctor, you're probably exempt from that. But for other people, an outdoor first aid course, which is a 2-day course, and it lasts for 3 years. I think there was a course just earlier this week or the end of last week, I think. You also need to be signed up through Better Impact, which is the website, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and completed the induction training, which is some kind of online modules that you need to do about health and safety and the national park and so on. Over the next month or so, pick up any more specialist training that you feel would be really useful for you, like the Malham Day that we're doing and Nethergill. So I'll share a bit about that. So the DBS, I had lots of questions about this when I was talking to you on the kind of one-to-one. And I know quite a few of you have already got a DBS with other organisations, but a decision has finally been made that we're going to ask people that we want people to have an enhanced DBS check with the Yorkshire Dales National Park. And the reason for that is that, so say if you had a DBS with North Yorkshire County Council, it would be them that would have checked your documents and so on. But if we're using that certificate and there's any issues and things, then we become liable. So it's been decided from the legal point of view and so on that we need to be the ones, we need to check people's ID and that kind of stuff. So if you haven't got a DBS with the Yorkshire Dales National Park, so Kim Scoley, who works for the volunteers team, she will send a startup email on what you need to do. So you might have already heard from her, but if not, it'll be coming soon. And it'll ask you to fill in an electronic, an online form, a bit about your background and so on. And then once that's completed, you have to then show some ID, so like your passport and so on. And Kim says that could be done via Zoom, or you could take your documents into one of the offices and they would scan them there. And then once the enhanced DBS has come through, you then we're asking you to register with an update service. So I'll just show you on the next slide. So the DBS have just set up this update service. So it means that rather than having to reapply or whatever, that it just keeps your certificate every 6 months. I think it just sort of updates anything. So there's the government website, the details there. You don't have to do anything at the moment, but once you've got your DBS through, we'll be asking you sign up for the update service. And if you state that you're a volunteer, there's no charge for that, and it just keeps your DBS on there and it keeps it ongoing. So has anybody got any questions about the DBS bit before I kind of move on? Nobody's shouting out, so
well, when I've gone through all that, will we be notified when we have to register again for the so that we can have it done every 6 months without?
No, you don't. Once you've done it once and you've registered for this update service, it all happens behind the scenes now. You don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, sorry, no, I perhaps didn't explain myself then. So when our enhanced DBS has come through,
yeah,
we then have to register.
Yes.
So will we get notification when our enhanced one has come through?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, because I think there's a limited time period where you have to register with the update service. So
right.
Yes. Kim Scoley is the one who's going to be coordinating all this. So she'll be the one in touch with you about it.
Thank you.
But Is that all right? So but either you could email me or Kim if you've got her details, or Alex, and any of us will sort of be chasing those things up. So that's the sort of technical stuff. But I wanted to share with you a little bit about the national picture. You know, why is it all of a sudden that we've got an education officer and we've got putting together an education team? We haven't had one for 10 years, but there's this real push across the national parks for this kind of education side. And you might have heard of the Glover report, which came out in 2019. And in there, he states that the number of children going on school visits to the countryside is shockingly low at just 6 to 7% of all children. So that was a real concern that was flagged up in the report. But just kind of talking you through a bit of the kind of recent legislation over the last few years. So in 2016, there was an 8-point plan for the England's national parks, and one of those 8 points was about connecting young people with nature. So they want the desire that over 60,000 young people per year would have school visits within national parks. So that's something new. It wasn't there before in the kind of national parks aims and so on. So that's the sort of starting point. Then in 2018, we had the UK government's 25-year plan about improving the environment. The third point there about connecting people with the environment to improve health and well-being. And I know quite a few of you talked in your sort of intro about that, the importance of that connecting with nature and things, particularly post-COVID and stuff. So really kind of important aspect, but all those other things there as well, which young people need to understand about, you know, about nature recovery and all those type of things. Then the Glover review, which came out in 2019, talked again about that in more detail. So about what national landscapes could do for the physical and mental health of children and young people, about the importance of that. I'm going to read through these because I think they're actually quite important. So each child who comes back with a positive experience after visiting a national landscape is an ambassador for their future. And all children should be helped to develop pride in the national landscapes, their environment and its biodiversity. They should learn how landscapes have inspired generations of artists, poets and musicians. They should learn how they too can pick up the baton of nurturing and enhancing what they've inherited. And the other desire was that the national park should provide a clear, consistent offer for meaningful visits, and that they also talked about the idea of an overnight stay, and we'll come back to that in a moment, but the kind of thrill of sleeping out under the stars or staying in a kind of wild landscape, and they're saying that all children should have that opportunity. And that's been picked up in a project called Generation Green, which I'm not sure whether you've heard of. This is a relatively new project, just got approval before Christmas. And the idea of this, it's part of the Green Recovery Grant is being used to fund it. And the organisations that you see at the bottom, so it's being led by the Youth Hostel Association, and the national parks are just one of the partners in all of that. But the idea is to basically get young people from Black, Asian, minority ethnic groups, disadvantaged backgrounds, coastal communities which are disadvantaged, and get them into the national parks and, you know, doing activities here. So all sorts of kind of activity ideas that they could be doing, but also the idea that they should spend a night in a national park or you know, an area of outstanding national beauty. So alongside my work, we have got a project going on, a Generation Green project, where we're going to be working with schools in sort of Leeds and Bradford and so on, and bringing them into the national park for staying at one of the youth hostels, either Malham or Grinton Youth Hostel, and having a kind of 2-day experience, 2 or 3-day experience. So that's part of that project as well, which is also obviously linked to education. So that is the kind of, that's the context, I suppose, of what's going on and what the push is. So with that in mind, I've been asked to sort of pull together a kind of education offer. So I've kind of based our offer, you know, it's linking to the 25-year plan, the Green Futures Plan. So the offer falls under 4 key themes. So about understanding our landscape, climate change champions, helping nature recovery, and our well-being in the outdoors. So every session that we're delivering, I'm hoping is going to link into one or more of those themes, so that there's a real rationale for it and it fits in with that kind of bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve. So I'll read this as well. So we can offer primary, secondary and special schools practical and engaging learning experiences that meet the requirements of the national curriculum, as well as enabling children and young people to develop an informed, inquisitive relationship with the countryside. So I suppose that sums up what we're trying to do. So I'm just going to talk through at the minute what our current offer is to schools. This time next week, I'll be talking to primary school teachers. I think I've got about 25 primary school teachers signed up for our kind of online Zoom network, talking to them about the offer. But we're in contact now with all the primary schools, and bookings are starting to flood in, which is great to know. So at Key Stage 1 at the moment, we have just got one offer, which is called a Woodland Adventure. And to give you an idea, I hope you can see that, but this is sort of the information that the schools get. So give you an idea. So it's an age range for years 1 and 2. It's a 2-hour activity. I give an idea of where they could do this. So it's in Grasswoods or Freeholders Woods, Aysgarth. Those of you who were recent teachers might know about intent, implementation and impact, which are Ofsted's 3 I's that they're looking for in everything that schools are doing now. So trying to kind of flag that up as to what the activity is all about. And then it's about main curriculum links. So it's science and art and design. You've got your key objectives and learning outcomes and how the activity will be assessed. So we've got these for all our different activities, so schools can see real selection of what we're offering, so that they can then choose what it is that they want to do. So the Woodland Adventure activity is going to include things like a treasure hunt in woodland, looking at kind of who lives here, looking at structured textures of trees and so on, a bit of a craft activity, sensory games and so on. And we've actually, a couple of you will know about this, we've actually got our first booking for this in just a couple of weeks' time. We've got Bainbridge Primary School are bringing their 3, 4, 5 and 6-year-olds. That's going to be interesting. We've got 50 of them all coming out at the same time to Freeholders Wood in Aysgarth for this activity, which we're going to be running with them. So that will be a bit of a trial and a bit of a practice. And we've got a couple of people who are sort of early years-ish specialists here, so who I've sort of invited to join us for that. But if anyone else was keen to get involved, that would be great to hear from you. So Key Stage 2, we've got a much longer list for our offer. I won't go through all of them there, but you can kind of see the sort of general themes. So they tend to link with science. So you're kind of living things in science or geography, or they're more, I suppose you would say, like PSHE, so personal social health education, like outdoor survival skills or that kind of thing, more kind of mental health type related stuff as well. So for each of those, we have got that kind of plan. So this is the one that's on outdoor survival. Again, I'm suggesting possible locations where we could do that for schools. Curriculum links with PE, design technology, geography, PSHE. But you'll have the idea, you got the idea. So this is what we're offering. And then from this, I'm developing what I call a delivery plan, which is actually what we're going to be doing on the day. So as a as a volunteer, what you would get from me is obviously you'd have an idea about the overview, but you would get the delivery plan, which is breaking down time, the time for the session, what we're doing, and so on. At the minute, I'm not envisaging any volunteers going out doing on an activity and running completely by themselves. So at the moment, it would be me planning, leading the activity, and volunteers there that might take smaller groups. So for example, the one we've got coming up with the very young children, 50 odd children, we're probably going to divide them into 6 groups. Each group will have 2 staff with them. They'll either be school staff or our volunteers. Those little groups will go off doing different activities that I will set them to do. So it's not like you're having to be teacher at the front, lead a whole big group. It's more about working with smaller groups at the moment. So the outdoor survival one, might give you, I think, I can imagine some of you have been quite keen to get involved in this. So navigation, shelter building, making a fire, cooking over a campfire, bushcraft type thing. That's the sort of things that we'd be offering for that one. So for Key Stage 3 and 4, so this is secondary age. We've had a bit less interest from secondary schools. I think just the logistics of getting whole year groups out doing field work and things is quite challenging. So it tends to be sort of smaller classes that are coming, like GCSE groups and things like that. But our offer, understanding our landscape. So a classic one for that would be the Malham Landscape Trail, but we're looking at things elsewhere. A Discovering Malham Day, river studies, monitoring the impact of climate change initiative. So this is a national programme on moorlands, basically. So it's a bit science, bit geography, but it's doing quadrat surveys on a moorland and looking at how the moorlands are changing as a result of climate change. So looking for evidence. So really kind of interesting activity, and also got real sort of purpose. And then the last one, Caring for Nature or Action for Climate Change. So things like planting trees, building leaky dams, that kind of proactive, helping with managing footpath erosion, that type of thing. So kind of more practical activities. So that's the Key Stage 3 and 4 offer. I won't go through that. The main locations. So what I'm trying to do is develop a kind of generic plan, teaching plan, which could be delivered at different locations. So the main places which I think we're going to be using, which you're probably familiar with, so Malham, clearly, Aysgarth has got a lot useful resources up there, places to go, Grassington and Hebden. Nethergill Farm, just for any of you who don't know Nethergill Farm, it's on the way between Buckden and Hawes, at a place called Outershore. It's really in the middle of nowhere, but it's a farm that is being rewilded, and they've also got a classroom there, and they've got bird hides, and they're getting funding to support education. So it's a fantastic location for us to do lots and lots of different activities. So we're going to be encouraging schools, hopefully, to come out to Nethergill Farm. Cleetop Wood, which is near Settle, and then Muka up in Swaledale, good for all the kind of meadows and river stuff. So we will go to other places, but those are probably going to be the main locations that we're based at. Just briefly, the other thing that we're offering for schools is the John Muir Award. So you'll be aware of the Duke of Edinburgh Award. So the John Muir Award is a kind of like an environmental award for schools. It's kind of not too dissimilar from D of E in that it's about service and so on, but it's about service to the environment really, and caring for wild places. So it's for children from year 5 upwards. It's a scheme that can kind of, go over a kind of long period of time, but basically the idea is that they, as a school group, they discover a wild place, they explore it, that location, they do something to conserve it, and then they share that experience. So they might put it on the website or write to the local newspaper or something. But it's very much linked with what we're trying to do around conservation and all sorts of stuff. So a really nice one for schools to get involved in. And I know some of you have helped schools out with the John Muir Award before, so I won't go through that. So Alex is our admin person who's taking all the bookings. We've got a generic Learning at Yorkshire Dales email address. We're offering schools travel grants. So depending on their percentage of pupil premium pupils, so that's disadvantaged pupils, we have got travel grants available, and our service for schools is free as well. So we're trying to remove any barriers for them to get out, so making it easier for them really. So just to share, so what bookings have we got so far? We've actually got one before the 10th of May. We've got, as I said, a week on Monday, we're going to Freeholders Wood, if anybody else is interested in that. But these are ones that are available for people to book, and Alex will be gradually putting these on Better Impact for people to book onto. So on the 10th of May, if you fancy a day or half a day out in Dent doing river studies, chucking dog biscuits into rivers we're going to be doing, and a bit of like pond dipping type activities and things, and in with a Key Stage 2 class in Dent. Then 25th of May, we've got a Malham Landscapes Day with Settle Primary School. In June, so this is up at Lex St Peter, which is up Lancashire direction. Some navigation map work actually on the school site with their Key Stage 2 children. In June, we've got 2 full days of woodland adventures. So that, you know, the Key Stage 1 things I told you about. So it's 4 schools, each doing half a day each. So it's the Wharfdale Federation schools. So that's like Grassington, Craigco, Kettlewell, Burnsall. So each doing half a day each in Grasswoods. A geology workshop in June, back at Lex St Peter. Farm visits, which I think some people have already signed up for, 3 days. So this is a school coming from an urban area, bringing their young kids, and they come over 3 days. So that's up at Southside. I understand that's a really nice day out. So I've signed up to do one of those myself, but I'm not leading that. 7th of July, we've got a sort of pond dipping session during the day at Eshton Grange, which is near Gargrave. And then 8th of July, an outdoor survival sessions. We've got, again, 2 schools up at Grasswoods, 1 school in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, doing stuff up there. So some of those might have taken you fancy. You might think, yeah, I'm up for that. It gives you a bit of a flavour. For secondary, we've only got 1 booking at the minute for sure, and that's 24th of June, which is a Discovering Malham Day, which is a relatively small group of year 9s and 10s. So I probably only need maybe 1 volunteer for that day. But Alex will be putting all these details up on Better Impact. What I can do as well, actually, is I can send you this PowerPoint to everybody. So things like all the dates and bits and things you'll get to see afterwards. In terms of training, I think I've sent information out on this for you. So 28th of April, Roger has very kindly agreed to lead a kind of Discovering Malham Day. So he's going to do the landscape trail bit. So we're meeting at 10 o'clock outside the National Park Centre. Just to flag this up, actually, if you're relatively new, one of the things that you should get is a parking badge for national park centres, so that you can park for free. So if you're planning on coming on this and you haven't got it, you might want to just ask Kim, because she might be able to provide that for you. But also on that day, we'll also look at, you know, if we were doing river studies in Malham, which locations would we use, what sites would use for that. So if you're thinking that you might like to help out with one of the Malham days, that would be useful for you to come on that day if you're available. And the other day I've got booked in at the moment is the 6th of May, again, 10 o'clock up at Nethergill Farm, again, which I said in Outer Shore. And for that day, I thought we'd concentrate on looking at the primary school packages. So, you know, what would the river studies look like? What would the woodland detectives look like? What would the meadow stuff look like? And so on. So we'll go through and talk through, practice maybe some of those primary school activities. But also it'd be useful for me to know, now that you know the sort of thing we're offering, what other training you think you might need. So I think that's enough of me talking. I've yapped on for ages. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just perhaps a chance for people to ask any questions or comments or thoughts on what I've been talking about.
Rebecca, can I just ask something straight away, if I may? As I said, I was quite open earlier on. I said it's not so much the teaching side of it; it's more the sort of the leading, guiding, supporting, all the bits around it, which hopefully is needed by everybody, whatever the activity. And I noticed on the original thing that Sally sent out, presumably from you, it talked about two roles: a leader role and a sort of like a support role.
Yeah.
And you sent out a couple of weeks later, didn't mention it. I just wondered if you could just maybe expand on those bits.
Yeah. So initially, I'm not going to expect people to be able to kind of lead straight away, although some of you might have that experience. But so, for example, I've got Settle Secondary School. I've asked for a Malham Day with 60 kids, okay, all at the same time. So there's no way that I could lead all of that number. You know, I need to split them into smaller groups. So ideally, what I'd like is people who feel confident that they would be, so say if we split them into groups of 15, they'd be confident to lead the activity with that group of 15. So that might be doing the landscape trail, it might be going to do river studies. They'd have with them a teacher from the school would probably be there, and another volunteer would be there supporting, but actually organising and running that activity might be one of you doing that. So I'm looking for some people who feel confident and happy to do that, and that person, they would definitely need the DBS and the outdoor first aid qualification, but then I need other people who are just there in that's more supportive role.
Oh, okay, thanks. There was also the training matrix you sent out related to that, and I wasn't quite sure what training was needed, where and who and how that's actually going to happen. That was all. Yeah.
So yeah, that's so that if you're just supporting, it's more of the kind of basic background stuff you need. If you're leading, certainly say if you were doing the Malham Landscape Trail, one of the things is around, you know, walk leaders, which I know, Alistair, you've got, a lot of people have got some qualifications in that. Some people have got, might not have the formal qualification, but have got a lot of experience. So what we might want to do is we're looking at a way of how can we sign people off saying they're competent to lead groups without having to put you through a 3-day training course or something. So that's something that we're exploring. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, appreciate that.
Hello, Rebecca, it's Bob Walker here. The river studies sections of these learning courses we're running, are we going to need wellies as opposed to just walking boots or?
Yeah, well, Roger and David will be able to tell you about that because they did a bit of river studies. Wellies, probably. Well, the students will need wellies. You yourself probably don't need to go paddling. So, but yeah, the young people will be asked to be in wellies. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say if one of them falls over, we're going to have to go and get them.
Yeah, that's true. So you might want to.
might need a wet boot instead of wellies on that one.
Yeah. The plan is that with primary school age children, we wouldn't have them wading in, you know, deep water, anything that wasn't really shallow. But for older children, if they're doing cross sections of rivers, you know, it might be halfway up the welly boot, so they do need to be prepared for that.
Thank you.
Has anybody else got any questions?
The better impact, I'm still learning this because, like I say, I've just sort of starting to volunteer. So I hope you bear with us when, you know, if we don't just get it correct the first time, because I struggled yesterday to find the Aysgarth one on there. It didn't seem to be there, but fortunately, you know, I was able to get in touch with Rebecca, and we organised something between us. But you know, please bear with me if I'm. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. If you're struggling with Better Impact, I think Alex, I think you can put people on it. So if you're wanting to volunteer for an activity but don't want to go through the Better Impact route, you can email Alex. And I think, am I right in saying, Alex, you can sign people up?
Yeah, if you're struggling, just email me and I'll sign you up. So like, yeah, so like for instance, that activity, I think I don't know if it had quite gone live maybe when you searched for it or whatever it was, but yeah, so it's not the easiest thing to use, which I can vouch for because I've just started learning how to use it myself. So yeah, if you email me, I can just sign you up for things if it's easier.
Thank you.
Don't worry, Jennifer. All of us have been using it for the last few years. We're still learning ourselves anyway, so don't worry about it.
Can I just say about Better Impact? I had a look on Better Impact just before this session, and the two training opportunities are there, the one at Malham and the one at Nethergill Farm, but none of the other ones, none of the other activities are listed on the Better Impact that I've got access to.
So we've had a flood of bookings in sort of in the last couple of weeks. I've just started putting some of them on, but like some of them aren't quite confirmed. So I just, once they're completely confirmed, then they will go on there. But yeah, so like some of the dates Rebecca has mentioned, I'm just firming up some of the details. So once they're definitely confirmed, then they will appear.
So that's from the school side of things. Is it confirming with the school before you can actually put them on the Better Impact?
Yeah, and then when it is confirmed, it will go on. So if there's any of those dates that Rebecca's listed and they're not there, that'll be why. But I mean, they're all it sounds like they're all going ahead. We just need to firm up a few details.
So if we're interested, do we contact Rebecca or you, Alex? I'm a bit confused about this.
Yeah, you can contact me because Rebecca's probably just going to she'll pass on your interest to me, so you can go directly to me. If it's something more specific to do with the session, then Rebecca's probably more likely to know. But regards to the staffing, then yeah, I'm happy to for you to contact me directly. But we'll make sure I'll send round my contact details to you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay. Yeah, so it's Alex Green at yorkshires.org, or we have this generic learning at. So if you emailed the learning@yorkshires.org.uk, it would, both of us see that as well. I think probably what we'll do, Alex, is when we've got things, ready and they're going on to Better Impact, we might just send an email out to the team, all of you, saying, this activity is going on today. If you're interested, book up, so that you get an update on what's happening. Because otherwise, if you've got to keep going on to check, it's a bit awkward, isn't it?
Well, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rebecca, could I ask, please? When I have a full-time job, I have childcare commitments. I'm also still a probationary trainee, so I've got X number of things I need to do. Are you looking for a minimum commitment? Because I'm one of these who'll say yes, yes, yes to everything, and then actually go, oh, no, I can't actually do that because I'm triple booked doing something else. So are you looking for someone who can do one event a month, whatever? I
think ideally on the job spec, on the person spec thing, I think I did say 6 days over a year, ideally, but I mean, I think we're forming a new team, so I recognise that some people are wanting just to sort of build up their experience, and some of it will be you coming along partly as a kind of observer as well as sort of helping. So I think to begin with, I'm quite flexible, but I think longer term, so maybe in a year's time, what would be good to have is a sort of a strong team who are confident in being able to go and deliver bit sessions and things as well. So that's kind of where I'm aiming for. But I know people, we've got very different skills in the team. So there might be things where, Jake, that are particularly suited to you with your skill set, but there are not very many of them, but that might be. So I think happy to be flexible at this stage, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? I hope I haven't put you all off.
Having the PowerPoint would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll send that
Just
through.
so we
I'll
can
send
read
that
it through again. That would be helpful. Thank
I know
you.
there's a lot of information to take in. And what I can also do is I can send you the stuff that schools will be getting, which is those summary sheets of the activities, which at least give you an idea. I mean, for those of you who haven't got a teaching background, all the kind of learning objectives and things, you might put you off a bit, but actually it really helps schools because they do have a lot of boxes to tick and everything. And if we can say, look, this supports this part of your curriculum, they're more likely to sort of bite a hand off and come and do those activities. So, but I will circulate them so you've got an idea of what we're doing. Anything else?
Can I just ask Rebecca?
Yeah, Judith, yeah.
I'm sorry. Can I just ask, is there a maximum amount of volunteers that you want on each activity? Will you have a number in mind? Yeah.
So there'll be, for every activity, there'll be a minimum and a maximum number. So the minimum number, if we don't get that many, we can't really run the activity. But yeah, there might be, so if there's a big group going out, there could be a bit of flexibility with numbers. So there might be a few extra people needed. And also you might request that you want to come a bit more as a sort of, if you're very new to it, as a sort of extra, you know, more of a sort of observer role initially, just to, you know, if you were kind of feeling that you couldn't go out with a group of 3 and 4 year olds and be with a group, you might want to sort of see what it looks like first. So that's another possibility.
Thank you.
Oh, that sun's right in my eyes.
Hi.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Yeah, Anne, yeah, hi.
Have you heard from Bedales about their request for renewables?
No, I haven't. Thank you for all that stuff you sent through, and that was brilliant. But yeah, I need to get back to them. So thank you for reminding me.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I've had some ideas on, you know, how we can approach it. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we do sometimes get some very specific requests. So Bedale High School have asked for a fieldwork day all about renewable energy. And Anne's got fantastic background in that area, so hopefully will help me plan that. But in terms of capacity, I haven't really got the capacity to do lots of one-off kind of activities. So if you can imagine the amount of prep needed for one activity day is quite a lot, which is why I'm trying to do some more generic things that could be used time and time again. But yes, thank you for reminding me. I'll need to follow that up. Good. Anything else? Okay, I think the best thing is if you've got queries, just get back to me. I'll circulate the PowerPoint to everybody, and just, you know, keep in touch, and we'll kind of let you know when activities are coming along. If you're interested, obviously, in the Malham Day, so you can, if you could sign up on Better Impact, because that shows that you've done the training. But it's also quite useful if you just email me and let me know you're wanting to do it, so I can keep tabs on numbers. And same for Nethergill Farm, so that would be good. I mean, obviously with COVID, we don't want to go out with huge big groups, but I'm told that we can have a group bigger than 6 because it's a voluntary activity, but we don't obviously want a group of 15 or something, do we? So see how we go. Okay. Right, well, thank you. Can I just say, firstly, thank you so much, everybody, for volunteering, because, you know, it's fantastic people giving up their time and the commitment and things that you're showing. And it was just lovely to meet you all, actually, when we were having our one-to-ones. So got real expertise in the room, which would be fantastic. It'd be great to work with you all. So nice to see you all. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Rebecca. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
No, working out.